Okay. Now, folks, we have ourselves some leftist infighting to get to. Now, those of you, I'm going to open up my beverage with my strong arms, with my, as conservatives like to say, my naturally endowed arms. Yes. So, I came across tweets from a lad by the name of Mike from PA. Now, Mike from PA had this to say. Whenever I see someone going after Hasan the Hun on this website without fail, it is something that is entirely bad faith. It's actually shocking how you can easily categorize someone as being dogshit the moment they go after him. Never fails. Now, you'll notice that, interestingly enough, Mike from PA hit a lot of replies to this tweet. I wonder, can we see the view hidden replies? Oh, here we go. Am I dogshit for not thinking that Taiwan belongs to China on the grounds of shared ethnicity? I saw this before it was hidden, and I was like, well, that seems like a weird argument. And since this is a response to a tweet about Hasan, I'm guessing that Hasan said something that indicates that. And Mike from PA responds, Taiwan belongs to China according to the US State Department. Stay mad, fascist. And I just have to say, the US State Department doesn't say that. Like, if you really wanted to cherry pick, like, beyond the level of cherry picking, like you know, you're not just picking the cherry, you're picking like the specific cherry from the cherry tree, you know? Like, you've gone Super Saiyan cherry picker, okay? You could say, well, the US State Department does have a policy that recognizes a one China policy. But oddly enough, if you go over to the United States Department of State and you look up Taiwan and US relations with Taiwan, you'll find article as of 2022, the situation here. And it turns out it's a little bit more complicated than just, oh yeah, Taiwan's part of China. So let's just take a quick look at this one. As a leading democracy and a technological powerhouse, Taiwan is a key US partner in the Indo-Pacific. Though the United States does not have diplomatic relations with Taiwan, we have a robust, unofficial relationship. The United States and Taiwan share similar values, deep commercial and economic links, and strong people-to-people ties, which form the bedrock of our friendship and serve as the impetus for expanding US engagement with Taiwan. Through the American Institute in Taiwan, AIT, a non-governmental organization mandated by the Taiwan Relations Act to carry out the United States' unofficial relations with Taiwan, our cooperation with Taiwan continues to expand. Taiwan has become an important U.S. partner in trade and investment, health, semiconductor, and other critical supply chains, investment screening, science and technology, education, and advancing democratic values. The United States' approach to Taiwan has remained consistent across decades and administrations. The United States has a long-standing One China policy, which is guided by the Taiwan Relations Act, the 3 U.S.-China joint communiques, and the 6 assurances. We oppose any unilateral changes to the status quo from either side. We do not support Taiwan independence. We do not, and we expect cross-strait differences to be resolved by peaceful means. We continue to have an abiding interest in peace and stability across the Taiwan Strait. Consistent with the Taiwan Relations Act, the United States makes available defense articles and services as necessary to enable Taiwan to maintain a sufficient self-defense capability and maintains our capacity to resist any resort to force or other forms of coercion that would jeopardize the security or the social or economic system of Taiwan. So, if you wanted to very much cherry pick all that I just read out, you could point at, we do not support Taiwan independence, as like, oh, well, there you have it. The United States recognizes that Taiwan's part of China. But like, the one China policy is not recognizing Taiwan as part of China. Like, everything that I just read here should indicate that Taiwan has a very precarious diplomatic position as being like kind of a diplomatic gray zone. It's not formally recognized as its own country, because that would be something that could precipitate war between Taiwan and China / drag the United States into the conflict. And so instead, it lives in kind of this gray zone with explicit communications that preserve its status quo inside of that diplomatic gray zone, where essentially it has its own autonomy and operates autonomously from China, and for all intents and purposes acts as a separate country. It is just not formally recognized as such because the Chinese government does not want to relinquish control or claim to Taiwan. So that's kind of the situation here. But like, to say Taiwan belongs to China according to the US State Department is just not correct. And also just responding to someone who, again, if we look at the hidden replies here, whose objection to the Hasan's argument was that they don't think Taiwan belongs to China because there are Han Chinese people in Taiwan and Han Chinese people in China. Like, that argument is terrible. And I went out in search of where Hasan might have said that, and I found it, and we're going to watch the segment where he talks to Ethan about it on the Hee Hee podcast. And yeah, I'm sorry. I'm inflicting leftist infighting on you guys. I'm sorry. But you know what? Any argument that like, oh, well, this one ethnic group lives here, so therefore it must be like, it should be, by all intents and purposes, absorbed into like the motherland, is deeply weird. It's deeply, deeply weird. Like, oh man, there are a lot of people from Mexico and Texas. I guess that means Mexico would be justified in in invading the United States to take it back because they have claim to it. Like, no, obviously not. The argument of like ethnic homogeneity is like literally some justification pulled straight out of World War II Nazis trying to like grab the not the Rhineland. Was it the Rhineland? Oh, I'm having a brain fart. Oh, my high school AP history teacher would be so ashamed of me. No, that was the remilitarization of the Rhineland. My bad. The Sudetenland. Thank you, Ashley. Yeah. A lot of Germans live in Poland. Maybe Poland should be Germany. It's also Russia's justification for the Donbass in particular. So it's a pretty bad and terrible argument that occasionally I see lefties break out, and it's a bad argument. I'm sorry. Like I'm a Swede, right? I'm a Swede. My family historically emigrated from Sweden to Minnesota. And you know what? There are a lot of Germans and Swedish and people from Norwegians in Minnesota. Does that mean Sweden should lay claim to Minnesota? Does that mean Norway should? Does Germany have a claim to Minnesota? Like, no. Building foreign policy around this argument is terrible. Keeps Minnesota blue. Hey, we'll do that on our own. Thank you very much. We're organizing in Minnesota. We got this. Oof. Hasan has kinda defended the Anschluss before. Oh, Sashi, no. Oh, I don't watch a ton of Hasan content, but that's a bit of a miss from me. Anyway, let's take a listen. Okay. Oh, Hasan went to Mexico and got scammed. All right. China-Taiwan discussion between Ethan and Hasan. I'm sure this will be enlightening. Like, I'm interested to hear what his arguments are here. It's so weird. Like, why die on this hill? He said it was only bad because of the... Sashi, do you have a clip of Hasan saying that? Do you have a clip of Hasan saying that? I would need to see that one in particular, because that's essentially Candace Owens' argument when she said Hitler would have been fine if he had stayed within Germany, which is insane. Hasan is baby's first leftist content, and if he's where you base your opinions, I don't take y'all seriously. I mean, Hasan's generally good. I think Hasan falls into what I call, like, the American leftist category. And there's probably a better term we could come up with for it, but essentially... a lot of American leftists are really, really good on domestic policy, right? They've read their Bernie Sanders. They know what they want to have happen in the United States. They have good ideas. They support good policies. But all of that goes out the window as soon as they start looking at foreign policy. As soon as they start looking at foreign policy, like, all of the good ideas just disappear. They are evaporated into the ether. And it's just like, because, like, it's not, they aren't tankies per se. They're just really bad at foreign policy, right? Like, tankies know foreign policy and just want bad ones. You know, like, they're just like, oh yeah, authoritarian governments are cool and good. But I think a lot of American leftists just don't have any grasp on foreign policy or, like, international relations. Hey, Drago. They have smooth brains. Why do they feel obligated to defend China? I genuinely don't know, Erica. Also, hello, Erica. And hello, Drago. The Hasan clip? Oh, God. Oh, God. I feel like I've just been gifted forbidden knowledge.
But, like, you feeling bad about the Crimean annexation does not change the reality of the Crimean annexation being a completely justifiable fucking act by the Russian government, okay? So that's it.
Has he walked this back before? I feel like I remember this vaguely, because, again, I don't keep tabs on Hasan. I feel like he walked this back later.
That's fine. And Hitler invaded countries based on Germanic ties at first. Yeah, dude. Talk to me when he's fucking throwing Ukrainians in a fucking. What are you talking about? Talk to me when he's throwing Ukrainians at a concentration camp, okay? Hitler wasn't fucking bad because he decided to invade Austria. He was bad because he was fucking killing Jews, okay?
I mean, he was also bad for invading Austria. Like would it be bad for the United States to invade Mexico? Yeah. What was Hitler bad for starting off World War II? Yeah, actually.
That was the problem. He wasn't like, oh yeah, we're gonna fucking annex territory with like Germanic people in it. That wasn't the main problem with Hitler, I think. That was like maybe eighth down the line.
Well, this is so contradictory. So in the tier list of things wrong with Hitler, it's still one of the top 10 things wrong with him. But you also just finished saying you didn't care about him invading Austria. This is fucking crazy, dude. I'm actually speechless. I'm like, for real, dude. Holy shit. Well, I'm glad I've been prepped for what to be on the lookout for, I guess. Cool. Here we go.
Yeah, I don't like that.
He said he wants to preempt a war against China.
He wants to like fight against China, but he also kind of wants to like leave Taiwan to China. It's like very weird. He has like a very weird foreign policy perspective on it.
Right.
Bro, you have no ground to stand on when it comes to talking about foreign policy. Holy shit, dude.
The obviously like xenophobic anti-Chinese perspective is like shared commonly by the entire intelligence community, our State Department. Obviously, it's like American policy, but the whole like leave Taiwan or first leave Taiwan alone and then give them all guns. Like make Taiwan like America, where every person in Taiwan has a weapon.
How do we feel about Taiwan, Hasan? China or not
Taiwan?
China? Or is it China or not China?
That's the American policy.
I have to say, like, what Hasan somehow looks. How does he somehow look younger than when I saw him on the Young Turks back in the day? Like when I saw him on the Young Turks like 10 years ago, how does he somehow look younger now? I don't get it. Unrelated to his foreign policy takes.
Whatever the American policy is, whatever the American perspective is.
What's your opinion? You really won't say?
No, I'm saying it's like one country, two systems, you know?
Come on,
No,
dude.
it's not. It's two different countries.
Really?
Taiwan and China.
Is that according to American foreign policy?
No, what's your opinion? What's your opinion? Taiwan independent?
My opinion on Taiwan is
They're prepping this so much with the sound effects that like he's been talking about it behind the scenes. Like obviously, right? Like the reason Ethan's grilling him is because he said shit off camera. Goodness.
that Taiwan
Casper Cosmic Lord, thank you for gifting a sub to Chris Huggy over on Twitch.
is the Chinese concept of Taiwan should remain in the hands of the people in Taiwan who
So therefore
believe
it's independent.
who for the record, for the most part, just believe to not disrupt the ongoing relations with.
Why are you
China.
being so carefully footed around
Because I know that.
Well, yeah, the people in Taiwan don't want to precipitate an invasion of their country by declaring independence, which would necessitate China taking action to maintain their, their zone of influence, right? Like, yeah, they want to maintain, at least nominal control over Taiwan, but they're content to allow Taiwan to remain autonomous because of the catastrophic results that would happen should they invade, right? But this, like, that all completely falls apart if they declare independence. So, like, they're not going to do that since the United States has given them decades of reassurance that this kind of gray autonomous zone is going to continue. Goodness. Is that Hasanabi? It is indeed, Josephine Lucien.
There's going to be a subreddit. There's going to be a subreddit post with like a million fucking comments being like, Hasan wants everyone in Taiwan to be killed because he loves China. He's a Xi Jinping.
That's what I heard.
That's what I just. It's already over. You asked me that question, like in jest, and it's gonna.
No, I was genuinely curious what you think about it.
I think that I think that overall, it's contemporary history is complex. At the end of the day, if the Taiwanese citizens would ever put this up for a vote and we're like, we want to fucking be an independent nation, it's up to them. You know what I mean?
They already done that?
No.
There is no.
No, what Hasan said is true from everything I've read. The most people in Taiwan nowadays support just keeping the status quo, like kind of.
Well, yeah, because the status quo allows them to act as an independent nation for all intents and purposes. Whereas if they declared independence, they would be crushed instantly, and the United States and China would likely come into conflict with each other in like probably nuclear conflict. Like, yeah, they're not going to have an independence vote.
No.
But they're
strategic ambiguity of
the
what's
overwhelming
going on
majority. The overwhelming majority's consensus opinion is that they don't want to disrupt relations with China, and they also, like, obviously, if it was a situation between like full-blown independence versus like becoming a Chinese state, like becoming a part of the Chinese state.
Do the people of Taiwan like pay taxes in China? Like, do they vote?
I don't know. I don't know
if they
the
even have
exact
elections.
details of that.
Do they have like travel status in China?
By the way, Taiwan has been a democratic republic since 1996. So, while it is true that they did have a dictatorship for a period of time, that has been phased out, and they've been having successful elections over the past 30 to 40 years. So, yeah, they do have elections, actually. And they're pretty notable for being some of the most democratic elections, I believe, the last I read, in that part of the world. So that's good. I think that's good. I don't think China has a democracy.
The thing is, like, as far as Chinese Taiwanese relations goes, like, the original inception of the country is
Taiwan
is a fascist dictatorship that America recognized as the real China until Richard Nixon normalized relations with China. And that's where they implemented the, they call it...
Also, the reason the United States recognized it as the real China was because there was a revolution happening, and they pushed out the old regime, got pushed out into Taiwan. Like, that was the last holdout of kind of the pre-Mao China, you know?
Strategic ambiguity, which I call lying.
Hold on, this says that the current administration of Taiwan maintains that Taiwan is already an independent country.
Yes.
This does not have to push for any sort of formal independence.
There are, well, that's because they don't want to do like a full-blown...
Exactly.
They don't want to disrupt the status quo. That's why they're saying that.
They don't want to do a full-blown... Interesting that he stopped that sentence. Like, guys, to help you understand what happens when like we're talking about this, right? Imagine there's a guy who just has a gun pointed at your head, and you are in his house, but you are able to, like, you know, move around in his house. You're able to order things online. You're able to have an active social life. But if you ever try and you know, move into a different house, he's going to shoot you in the head. That's basically the relationship Taiwan has with China. Like that's kind of the thing. And also there's a neighbor who lives next to this house that has just an incredible amount of like weapons and like missiles primed to fire at the house that, you know, the guy with the gun lives in, which makes the situation even messier. So yeah. The Kumating Tang, I don't know how to pronounce it. They retreated to Taiwan. You have that correct.
Sure, they don't want to be
autonomy.
invaded by China.
They want autonomy while simultaneously being under the Chinese banner,
Seems
according
like
to
they want
international.
independence, but they just don't want to be like attacked by China.
Ethan exactly understands it. Ethan exactly understands the situation.
Militarily.
Well, that's part of it for sure. So you understand how Taiwan was.
Well, how is that just part of it? That's the entire thing. They don't want to be invaded by one of the largest militaries on Earth. That's not part of it. That's like the entire game right there.
was developed as
Yes.
a nation state, right? Like,
Hey, Fellini Fiend, how you
malpurged
doing?
And defeated the counter-revolutionary forces. They like
Current government, as far as I can tell, is anti-KMT, who I believe were the counter-revolutionary group that had control early on. So someone using them as the biggest reason against Taiwan independence is silly. Well, yeah, especially when they've been having like free elections that have been monitored internationally for like the past 30 years.
Taiwan has been a larger.
Yes, it's true. Socialism is when I get all of Hasan's money. It's true. Nodders.
Part of like China historically, and the original Taiwanese claim was that the entire mainland China belonged to what is now known as Taiwan, and that was the American foreign policy position as well, because you know China was communist and Taiwan was a fascist military dictatorship. So they were like, oh yeah, we're just gonna completely ignore China until Nixon normalized relations with China. And then Taiwan became a democratic country, of course, with still a lot of reactionary opinions overall. But like that's gone away in recent years. I think the younger generations have a different perspective on the matter. But overall, like historically speaking, Taiwan and China being the same country, it has been around for much longer than, like, as Elon Musk said, Hawaii being an American state. Much, much longer.
Taiwan is already independent. That's what I'm saying. People don't want a formal declaration just because they don't want a fucking war. But they're not wanting to be Hong Kong and be consumed by the Chinese.
I'd be scared of what the CPC would do to Taiwan's indigenous tribes if they took over. I mean, look, if China ever took over Taiwan, like, let's not kid ourselves. Taiwan would be basically one gigantic smoking crater. Let's not play around. Like they would be just bombed to shit. There wouldn't effectively be much to hold on to there, outside of cleaning up the ruins and like moving, you know, the considerable Chinese population into the new real estate, essentially. You know?
Party.
They don't want to be Hong Kong? What happened?
And also let's be real. China is more than willing to re-educate the Uyghurs. The Uyghur Muslims. They're absolutely willing and able to put Taiwanese people into re-education camps.
What happened in Hong Kong?
Am I saying the right place?
No, you
They
are
were independent, and then they got fucking eaten.
They were
up.
not independent.
Oh, they had some rights. They were less independent than Taiwan, and then they got eaten
Hong Kong
up.
was bought by you know,
Are you saying the people of Hong Kong did not want to be
there were certainly people that
independent?
did not want to be a part of China. Absolutely, that is 100% correct.
Most of them.
A lot of
the people there took a lot of
people
pride in not
enjoyed.
being.
A lot of people enjoyed having Western civil liberties while simultaneously.
A lot of people enjoyed being treated as human beings. Are you kidding? They enjoyed having civil liberties. You know, they enjoyed having things like basic human rights. What a novel concept.
Like being in a unique position, but now that China already does regular trade with the rest of the world, because like at a time in like the 90s, Hong Kong was seen as like this prosperous middle ground, but since the 2000s, like because of
didn't China just start closing down most of its like LGBTQ centers that had like opened up in like the last 5 or 10 years? Aren't those all being like shut down right now? Yeah. Okay. Oh man, yeah. All of your luxuries like being gay.
insane amount of development and insane trade relations with the rest of the planet. There are tier 1 cities that are.
Oh yeah, they also didn't they ban like trans people from being in media, or like men from looking too effeminate on television. Like there've been some wild crackdowns recently.
Been larger and have more economic activity than Hong Kong in and of itself. And there was always a timeline where Hong Kong was going to be given back to China.
You should watch Keppel's video on Naomi Wu. The situation is even worse. Maybe I'll check that out on a stream tomorrow. I don't know anything about Naomi Wu. She's an influencer, right? That's all I really know.
Accelerated it by like 2 decades, if I'm not mistaken, because that was a lease on Hong Kong. Mm-hmm. So the people of Hong Kong, there were certainly a lot of people in Hong Kong that did not want to be a part of the Chinese state. But overall, if you look at the situation in Hong Kong right now, it's like they claimed that it was going to be devastating, and that has not happened.
Not that we know of, because they have no freedom of speech anymore.
Okay.
They can't talk. They lost.
That's one of those pesky Western civil liberties, Hasan.
Part is true. You're right.
What are we going to learn from them?
I will not.
They have secret prisons, bro.
I do not agree with China's social or civil liberties policies. I do not agree with that at all. That's why I don't live in China. I live in America. However, having said that, you can just go to Hong Kong and you can just go to every part of China pretty much and see for yourself. This is no longer like the North Korea style hermit kingdom where like no information comes out. Like we have
regardless,
we have a shit ton of Chinese people that live in America. And
regardless, bro, it's not that
China.
They had rights. They don't have rights now. They lost a lot of rights. But whatever. I mean, you're. This is interesting that you're very soft. You're very soft-footed around the issue of China. You love China.
I think China.
If you love China so much, why don't you marry it?
Once again,
the fact that like he can't even like giggle at that joke, man. He's so scared of just having a position and a spine on this. It's wild.
I don't live there. I choose to live here because of the issues that you just brought up, which is civil liberties being taken away, no freedom of speech, walled garden internet. Like there are certainly parallels to the American state or the Western world that there are certainly comparisons that you could make, but overall, that kind of mechanism of control is one that I do not appreciate personally, which is why I choose to live here. But as far as like cruelty, oppression, like what you're talking about with respect to Hong Kong, the promises that Western media overall made about like how China was going to crush Hong Kong under its like ruthless, oppressive thumb
Well,
has not
I'm sure-
happened.
I don't think that was the point. I think the point was just that there's whoever was, vocal about wanting to maintain certain rights in Hong Kong was probably thrown in a secret prison and never heard from again.
I mean, certainly there was political
Yeah.
dissidents are
Yeah,
definitely
not the
political
best.
dissidents are definitely like
Taken out back.
they're not killed or anything, but even then it's like completely
They take
unacceptable.
out walk and
Who's more likely to be incarcerated, a Chinese citizen or an American citizen? An American citizen, certainly, but who's more likely to be incarcerated for what, I think depends.
Yeah.
They go for a beer and they don't come back. You know what
they
I'm
are
saying?
not they're not good on that stuff. 100%.
But well, anyway, I was just curious. I didn't mean to open a can of worms, but you say you think the people of Taiwan whatever they want, and it seems to me that the people of Taiwan want independence. So I'm right with you there, brother. Independence for Taiwan.
I think one nation, two systems.
One nation, two systems.
Yeah. Which is the current.
Like Israel and Palestine.
Oh my god! You don't want to go down that rabbit hole. Come on.
I'm just fucking with you.
Okay, the conversation seems like it's done, but it clearly continues for a bit.
I'm just trying to get you.
That part is like literally.
Ethan's such a little rascal. I love that man.
I mean, that is a. I mean, that's a advocacy in the opposite direction, in my opinion, where
independence for Taiwan. You heard it here from Hasan.
Because remember, like the overwhelming majority of people living in Taiwan are still Han Chinese.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, despite the fact that it's a separate country, it's still like the same people. The language is the same. People will say
Ukraine belongs to Russia for that exact reason.
I don't think Ukraine belongs to Russia because Ukrainian nation state, the Ukrainian nation state project, there are similarities. You're not wrong about that. But the Ukrainian nation state project.
He's stumbling over his words here because he knows that what he's about to say is really stupid.
As a well-defined nation state has always has been around for much longer than like Taiwan being an independent nation state.
So the people's entitlement to freedom.
Like you can make a better argument for Crimea being a separate country than like.
But what I'm hearing is that it's just a function of how old their culture is, how entitled they are to freedom.
It's not. I don't think that it's like those two concepts are not the two concepts at play here. Like it's not like entitled to freedom.
As long as they're the same ethnicity, they're not entitled to freedom, I guess.
Versus entitled to freedom versus what was the other thing that you said?
Well, it just seems like you're talking about like their they have some kind of national heritage or identity.
Well, the thing that I was mentioning there, the reason why I mentioned that is because you were talking about making a comparison between like Israel, Palestine, being the same people. I think makes that kind of, especially existing under the construct of having like one nation state regardless with freedom of travel in between.
What are you doing?
It's literally like a mile off the coast. You
Why?
know what I mean? Of China. Having all of that.
What are you doing, bud? First of all, like, just I know this is like a petty thing to check, but like, This is it's literally a 110 mile wide strait. So Taiwan's not 1 mile off the coast of China, it's 110 miles away. But second of all, like, what? Cuba Cuba's not that far away. Does it mean we in the United we got a lot of Cubans in the United States? Does that mean we have the right to invade Cuba? Like what? Like, yeah, like, what is this? Why? Canada's right next to the United States. We have a lot of like cultural ancestry with Canada. Should we invade Canada? Like, what? This is so dumb. This is so dumb. Oh my god.
Literally like a nation of
I'm gonna rewind this because I just can't believe he's actually saying this.
Palestine.
No, I was being more
being that
silly
like
about
yeah,
that,
being
but-
the same people
We
I
trade you
think
Canadians and hockey players
makes
for
that kind
independence.
of especially existing under the construct of having like one nation state regardless with freedom of travel in between. It's literally like a mile off the coast, you know what I mean, of China. Having all of that factors into like whether there's going to be assimilation or not. And there's no need for assimilation even. They have like normal trade relations.
There's no need for assimilation. They're basically the same country, except in every possible way. Also, like, your argument is just isn't even about whether or not it's good or right, or like whether it's even a valid claim. At this point, you're just like, oh well, it would be easy if they invaded and took over Taiwan. It would be easy for them to incorporate the Taiwanese into the wider China ecosystem, which is just like not really an argument. You're just kind of saying they would have an easier time invading, which, like, oh, we'd have an easy time invading Switzerland because they're so politically neutral is basically the equivalent, you know? Oh my god, dude. Yeah, no need for re-education because they're all the same ethnicity. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They wouldn't look. It would be ethical for China to invade Taiwan because they're all the same ethnicity. So they wouldn't need to put them in the re-education camps like the Uyghur Muslims. This is just I the fact that he's saying this without any. I was about to say without any self-awareness, but I think he is aware that the argument he's making is dog shit. He just doesn't have a different one, and he knows that he has cultivated an audience that would be angry at him if he, like, criticized China, which is honestly his own fault. He's kind of trapped between his own mistakes here.
With Taiwan, you know what I mean? It's like that's why it's considered to be
it's not kind of a blood and soil argument. It is a blood and soil argument. Well, it's really close and they're both the same ethnicity, so like it's fine. They should just be one place.
Delicate political conversation, but one that currently the current system benefits both.
And so if
places.
China takes military action against Taiwan, as some people...
Which, by the way, to be clear, I don't think Hasan is a blood and soil person or advocate. I think he is so bad at foreign policy, he has unintentionally bumbled into making that argument. Again, this is why I call it like an American leftist. He has good domestic policies, has bumbled into terrible foreign policies. Yeah, he's done it. You've sent me clips now. He's done it a lot. I think, frankly, I stand by it. I think he's just really dumb and bad when it comes to foreign policy. Which doesn't mean he's dumb and bad at everything, but on this, absolutely dumb and bad.
Speculate may happen.
Yeah, I mean, that would not be good. I don't think that would be good. I think that would be really, really terrifying. It would be disruptive for the entire global economy as well.
Right, but I'm just mean like from whose army are you joining?
the English Channel is only 33 kilometers. Well, then the French were completely correct in invading England. You know, they completely correct. It's close by, and you know, some of the Normans spoke English, I'm sure. So you know, basically fair game right there.
No,
Which front line are you fighting?
I'm fucking moving to.
Taiwan.
I'm moving to an
This is
undisclosed
conversation.
location. I'm moving to an undisclosed location.
I'm on the front.
I'm gonna be on a fucking
line.
ship.
Whoever has the
screaming.
best computer chips, I'm fighting for.
Okay.
I'm a chip boy
Well,
myself.
If it,
Ethan is so good at this. Like he's just so good at like the little pokes and like the little like dumb jokes. I love it. I love it. I want more Ethan debates.
if it wasn't for America, China would have some pretty solid chip technology, but America's like regularly trying to stop that process. Like they went to the Netherlands to be like, you can't sell China.
Yeah. That's so here's the thing, right? I'm gonna try and lay this out for folks. One of the things, right, that China did, right, in order to leverage its gigantic labor force into a massive economic boom, was it made itself kind of the destination for cheap labor. And what that meant in the long term was that international companies moved their factories to China. Now, is it really all that surprising when all of these international factories move their shit to China and start mass manufacturing phones and technology, that they would get a hold of the ability to make phones and technology real good? This isn't surprising, is what I'm saying. This was kind of the bargain. We knew they were going to get a hold of that IP over time, and we did it anyway. And by we, I mean capitalists, because they made money off of it. And now it's kind of, in my opinion, a bit disingenuous to be like, oh, but they're stealing. But that's not what's happening here. What's happening here is the United States is recognizing that China is an economic threat to U.S. hegemony and is trying to preserve its economic markets via diplomatic channels and trade agreements and stuff. And that's actually a pretty normal thing for a country to do. You know, that's a pretty in a capitalist world, that's pretty normal, actually. It's not even the IP, it's just reverse engineering things, which has been a thing since the innovation of the wheel. Yeah, exactly, GamerG. Like it's just not shocking that they were able to do that, and now they make pretty good phones, you know? You can tell by his body language he's not being honest with himself or his viewers. Yeah. Hasan cannot bring up IP with Ethan again, though. Well, and it's just like, it's weird to me that Hasan's like, oh, well, the US isn't playing on an even playing field with China. They're making agreements where China can only sell their products in some places. And it's like, well, yeah, but, you know, like China does the same thing. China has its trading blocks. You know, they have their own economic power plays that they're making, and honestly, they've been making pretty savvy economic moves for like the past 30 to 40 years, and it's only now with COVID that we're starting to see their economic growth slowing down, which is, by the way, why there's been so much more saber rattling as regards Taiwan from China recently. It's because they're stirring up kind of this nationalistic fervor to replace the kind of the happiness people had with the economic prosperity they were experiencing in China. So that's kind of where we're at. And it's weird for him, I think, to be like, yeah, the United States is doing this economic dirty trick. And it's like, well, all countries do that. All countries are doing economic dirty tricks on each other. That's that's called international trade.
Your chip
Hey,
technology.
Solazar, as I step into the stream, somehow your energy feels pretty positive right now. Good to see. Thank you. I took a walk today.
Which is fucking insane if you ask me.
It's incredible the takes in chat. How many people are like, just the polarization of this topic. It's fucking insane.
Well, of course, there's going to be polarization on the topic because the American media has been gearing people to be across the board like vicious, no matter what, to any foreign adversary. China being the main foreign adversary now, so people are going to be very passionate in their defense and start saying, we care about the people in Taiwan. You're not talking about the people in Taiwan. You don't care about them.
It's the media. If it weren't for the media's propaganda, people would not be siding with Taiwan.
What? This is the first time I feel like Ethan has had a bit of a miss in this back and forth so far. Like, yeah, people care about things that they know about, and the media is primarily where they're getting their information about things they know. So, like, yeah, people aren't hearing about Taiwan, they're not going to give a shit. Is he high? I don't think Ethan's high. Ethan just is kind of like this, and I think he also has like a nervous tick, like an involuntary like facial spasms and stuff. So he'll kind of like move around a little bit, in a way where you might think he is high, but I don't think he actually is.
Yeah, I mean, think about it this way: why the fuck does no one care about Yemen?
Oh yes, he has Tourette's. Thank you. I was trying to think of the term.
You know what I mean? Why? Because Saudi Arabia is the one. Our ally, Saudi Arabia, is the one doing the genocide in Yemen. And you never see people get this passionate about Yemen. You don't see people get this passionate about Syria.
I think Taiwan has more relevance to the United States, like in terms of economical, and social.
Yeah, that was developed.
Yeah, I mean, like people don't really talk about Somalia outside of like Somalian pirates, I guess, but like. There's still a lot of really important things that happen there too. I haven't heard Hasan talk about Somalia, but like all of this is like jangling keys. This is like, oh, look over here. There's the U.S. is doing bad things about tech. Oh, look over here. We're not talking about Yemen enough, and it's just like, why can't you just talk about Taiwan? Why can't you focus on the topic? Why are you trying to constantly distract from your position here? And again, it's because he knows he's in a bad spot. He knows this is bad. I didn't mean disrespect. Oh no worries, Austonian Knight. I just like I found out he had Tourette's a while ago because I also thought initially that like Ethan was high all the time, and no, it's just he has involuntary movements. Was Ethan always an actual politics commentating dude? Because like I remember a time that, as far as I knew, he was more just a funny guy. No, Solazar, he has historically been just kind of like a podcast funny guy. But then he and Hasan started collaborating, and he got more political. But he's actually like evolved his politics, I would say, farther to the left than Hasan. But he's still pro-capitalism, and I feel like if we just got him in front of like some good socialists, like if I talked to Ethan for like 30 minutes, I feel like I could get him. You know, like he's within reach, right? I feel like a good conversation could tip him over the edge, and he's not gonna get that from Hasan, I don't think. On economics, there's much more room to move him left. Yeah, exactly. Like I think if I gave him my worker co-op pitch, I think he'd be really down. That's the impression I get. I feel like I am able to reach people who are even fairly conservative, with talking about workplace democracy, because I feel like that's really sensible. Let's get Jack on H3. I would love to go on H3. They seem like a fun bunch. The main thing is I don't know if I have like the right kind of drip. I'd have to brainstorm an outfit.
Well, that's only natural that people would care more about something that affects them more. I don't think Yemen.
Yeah,
and I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I just don't think Yemen affects.
But it's still people. There's still people that are being mercilessly slaughtered, whereas no one is being slaughtered in Taiwan in a similar capacity, and yet there are way more passionate because.
Not saying it's
like
right or
you
wrong.
said,
I mean,
it is designed to have this kind of.
And you think that if it don't.
Well, wait, no. People are far more passionate about Taiwan because Taiwan is one of those places that could be a flashpoint for like World War III. That's why people are passionate about it. There's like a very real chance that the United States could come into conflict with China over Taiwan, and that would in turn be two nuclear powers colliding, which is not good. Very, very not good.
The only reason people care about Ukraine is because of the media.
Absolutely, 100%.
Nobody would care.
Yeah, of course.
Did anybody care about Georgia?
Yeah. That's a great
Probably,
question.
I don't know.
The answer is no. The answer is no. No, nobody knew about the invasion of Georgia. And when I say nobody, I mean like obviously people knew about it, but nobody really cared about the invasion of Georgia. Like it was over like within a week or two, and then like nothing really came of it. You know, it's not like one of those indelible, lasting events in like the American zeitgeist. You know, I'm sure it's indelible in the minds of Georgians, but like not so much in America. Contrary to popular belief, you don't actually need to know and care about all things equally as long as you're giving people equal importance. Yeah. A lot of Ukrainians and anti-Putin Russians have fled to Georgia, and the political situation there is still complicated. Yeah, it's kind of a mess. I haven't done my due diligence on Georgia, so I'm not going to talk about it in too much detail. But like, yeah, no, it's this weird game of jingling keys about like, oh, what about over here? What about over here? What about over here? Like, why? Just talk about the topic.
No one gave a shit about Georgia. That's crazy.
Hold on. Well, I mean, what about in Europe? They seem to care about Ukraine a lot.
It's the similar principle. Media is still media everywhere around the world.
I mean,
it plays
Ukraine
a very significant role in people's lives.
Hold on. Ukraine borders Europe, and I mean, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but Georgia is not really.
It's just such a weird premise for this part of the debate. Like, why are you talking about like, oh, people care about things because of the media? Well, yeah. Like if you don't know about a topic, you can't care about a topic, obviously.
Really, in such a geographically, strategically important location as Ukraine.
Okay.
Well, I'm just
and also let's not ignore the fact that like Ukraine being invaded has pretty dire implications for the rest of Europe. And also the world by and large. Like a nuclear power invading a neighboring country, pretty big implications there. Everyone's paying attention to it because, again, of the possibility of like, there being spillage into a NATO-controlled territory, and that sparking some sort of conflict between Russia and NATO. And the same is true, again, with Taiwan. Like, if a conflict were to happen between the United States and China, like, NATO would be drawn into that. Like, it would be a colossal world-scale war. And, like, people don't want that to happen, so they care more about that as opposed to, like, the invasion of Georgia, which didn't really have those potentialities, you know? like, no matter how the Georgian conflict wound up, it wasn't going to wind up as a world war.
Explaining why people might care more about Ukraine than Georgia. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying
Still
why.
people. It's the people
I'm
that are
not
being
saying it's not
ruthlessly
people.
slaughtered.
I'm just saying because your theory is that the support for Ukraine and Taiwan is essentially manufactured, that it wouldn't exist. It shouldn't exist.
I'm not saying it shouldn't exist. I'm simply
Nobody
stating
said
that.
that, yeah.
I'm simply stating that
It's manufactured.
the
People only care
tremendous
about it
amount-
because they've been tricked to caring about it.
It's not tricked, but dude, like, normal people don't think about foreign policy. Are you saying that you don't think
Neither do some of the people in this conversation, clearly.
that normal people's opinions about like international matters are shaped by what they see on the news and what's prioritized?
I'll give you a better
Of
example.
course it is.
Hold on, because I'm being double teamed now, so I need to speak.
Okay.
Hot.
Of course it is. But this implication that you're like, if you say nobody cares about Taiwan or Ukraine because of the media, it implies that, you know, the support for those two countries or care for those two countries is like,
Nobody
you know,
implied
manufactured. That it's really not sincere. That's what it sounds like.
You jumped to that. Nobody
I'm
said.
sorry.
No,
but-
I
So, like, I feel like there should be room in this discussion for, you know, the concept of manufactured consent via media. Like, that seems where, like, this should go as a conversation, while acknowledging that, like, yeah, people will care about things that have more effect on them and also that they know about. And I don't feel like it's going to go in these directions. Unfortunately.
am saying
No,
that.
yeah,
I think,
he is saying
yeah,
that.
I'm saying that the support for the overwhelming majority of Americans,
Yeah, it's
for any
manufactured.
country
It's not
that
authentic.
any country that the United States of America has a genuine interest in, is manufactured in either direction. It can be manufactured carelessness and inconsideration, like being inconsiderate and ruthlessly violent at certain points, which is the example I was going to use with 9/11 and what we did post 9/11. Or it could be manufactured in the other direction, where it's like, this is the just war. This is the just war that we have to fight, like we did in Vietnam originally, when there was need to generate.
This is really incoherent. Like, yeah, like ultimately Hasan's just agreeing with Ethan while trying to ring the old bell of America bad. America bad. Did you know America bad? America did bad thing. America did second bad thing. Did you know that? Did you know America bad? Did you know America bad? And while basically saying, yes, Ethan, I agree with your conception of my point.
Popular support for whatever kind of action America consistently takes. Now,
I'm not denying that propaganda exists.
Yeah,
but I am saying that, like, the comparison of Ukraine to Georgia is not apples to oranges. That's all I'm saying.
And I feel like Ethan knows that Hasan is kind of full of bullshit right now, but he doesn't quite know how to articulate it. Oh man, put me in, coach. Put me in, coach. I want to be there. I want to be on the front lines of this conversation. Ooh boy. Ooh boy.
It's not.
What what do you mean by this? That
Ukraine borders like mainland Russia or Europe.
Okay.
Europe. They had to bring up the map. It's literally it's in Europe. It doesn't border Europe. It's literally right there. God damn it. It's literally right here. It's right next to Poland. The classic place to invade when you want to start a world war.
Cares a lot about it.
Okay. I would say that it's probably more. I would say that in Europe, there's probably more of a not controversy necessarily, but it's a more divisive issue in I think Europe than it is in America, most likely.
It's also like not the best
look,
precedent when like tyrants start land grabbing in Europe. Generally hasn't.
I don't.
Yeah, 100%. Like again, when talking about this, I feel like you really need to hammer it home and bring it back to basics. Where like, yeah, generally an authoritarian invading other countries to while giving blood and soil arguments about rebuilding empire, generally not good, actually. And then believing his arguments about the fact of like shared ethnicity means that he has the right to invade, also not good. Also very bad.
Doesn't have
Disagree
a
with
good
that.
precedent.
I agree with you. I think that
And so
the
I
invasion of
understand why
Ukraine is
people don't like
completely
the Ukraine thing.
unjustifiable, and it's also, even if you're like pro-Russia, pro-Vladimir Putin, anti-NATO, right? Even if you're all of those things, it is a laughably idiotic thing to do, because all you've done is now galvanize NATO support in Europe and justified it. Because that was the entire reason for NATO's existence, is to stop the USSR, stop communism from thriving. And obviously, Russia is a very different country.
Well, wait, no. The existence of NATO was not to stop communism from thriving. The existence of NATO was specifically to counteract, Russia in the face of potential nuclear war.
Country than the USSR was, and is no longer ideologically aligned with communism at all. It is a state that Western capitalists basically redesigned and propped up oligarchs, including people like Vladimir Putin. So, despite all of that, it's still utilized as a protection racket that you basically justified its existence of by doing such an unimaginably cruel, inhumane, unjustifiable act, invading Ukraine.
But you literally earlier in this conversation said that Russia invading and taking Crimea and the Donbass were justified on the basis of shared ethnicity. You said that earlier in the conversation. I can't, dude.
So it's a strategic blunder, even if you're like pro-Russia.
I do think that I just think people are capable of caring about it without.
Well, I mean, I care
being
about
like,
it. I care about it.
People sincerely care about it, even though you think it's unfair that people didn't care as much about Georgia. That's my point.
It's not necessarily just not caring about Georgia. My opinion on this is that we, as a nation here in America and all around the world, are not immune to propaganda.
No.
As a matter of
No one has argued that. No one's argued that this entire goddamn conversation. Why? Like, if you're a Hasan fan, demand better of him. This is weak. This is weak sauce. Subscribe to Riverboat Jack instead.
matter of fact, every piece of information that we analyze has a great impact on our decision-making process, and therefore, doing a full media blitz on any particular issue is usually going to yield these kinds of results and this kind of support, which without that kind of media blitz would not exist. Does that make sense?
Again, I'm not denying that propaganda exists and that we're all, influence.
And
it can be influenced.
I demand more from my himbo. Yes, let us start a proletarian revolution in Hasan chat. He can't yell at all of us.
What I was going to use was our justification for the invasion of Afghanistan and the invasion of Iraq.
Oh my God, he did use the Garfield meme. I couldn't see it. He used the fucking Garfield meme. Oh my God, he's been hiding his power level this entire time. This is devastating.
These were both unjustifiable wars, in my opinion. The war on terror was across the board, wholesale, ruthless, cruel, led to millions of people dying, led to tens of millions of people being destabilized, and we're still living in the rubble of that kind of
Right, but
cruel and unusual action. And it was championed by a majority of the American population, and until like
It's incredible that he has turned a conversation where he said, well, Taiwan is made up of ethnically Han Chinese people, so therefore it should be part of China, and turned it into talking about the war on terror. Like, I really want Ethan to hammer home on this the ethnicity argument he made earlier.
the past like couple of years where
what does that have
where
to do with
atti-
Ukraine being invaded by Russia?
where do you think that kind of attitude came from?
Okay,
Where do you think that
you think
justification came from? There was $1 billion
it's not the
industry.
same thing, man.
No,
Ukraine
it's
was invaded by Russia,
No, it is exactly the same
and
thing.
it's
From
literally
the,
a tyrant grabbing land in Europe.
I agree with what you're saying. My point is,
You're saying
that
propaganda exists? Yeah, I know.
no, my point is that Americans think that they are independent thinkers, and yet they are motivated into believing things.
What does this have to do? Like, Ethan's already going like, yeah, propaganda exists. What? Move on from the point. And he's just like, but did you know propaganda exists? This is frustrating as fuck.
No matter what it
agree
is,
that
it can be a just cause.
I agree that
It can be a just cause in the situation where you're supporting Ukraine and Ukrainian independence, which is an independent nation state. You know what I mean? It's been an independent nation state in the aftermath of the dissolution of the USSR. It's been an independent nation state. You can't just like turn around and be like, all right, it's mine now, right? I agree with that. And that it can be seen as a just war, an understandable war. It's not even a war that the Ukrainian people wanted, right? But having said that, the American support, the full-throated support, is absolutely
It doesn't seem like there's full-throated support. There's a lot of people that don't support it. There's a very
because
diverse opinion of
if you
people
looked
on
at
the
if you
Ukraine
looked at
issue.
polls in the original invasion, the amount of support
Seems like
was
there's a lot of conservative people who are like Putin simps, and then there's also
I feel like okay. Honestly, I feel like what's happening here is Ethan is trying to run out Hasan's dialogue tree. Like, Hasan has prepared like kind of ideas and points here, but like none of them really apply to what Ethan has been asking him about. And so Ethan is just like exhausting the dialogue tree here.
a bunch of like lefties, like and I don't mean that derogatory.
those aren't real
who
leftists.
aren't like who are like the guy we were speaking to, the communist professor.
Bridger Wolf.
Yeah, who's
Oh.
like kind of
God, I feel bad. I feel bad that Ethan was exposed to Richard Wolff in the way that he was. You know, like I feel like COVID did a number on Richard Wolff. You know, like I love him. He was very formative for my political evolution, but like lately he's been kind of bit weird. Don't throw Dr. Wolf under the bus. I'm not throwing Dr. Wolf under the bus. I like him. But yeah, he got weird about COVID.
he people like him are also very anti-Ukraine in general. would
I don't
say.
know his entire perspective,
He doesn't
but
seem very
I don't think-
bullish.
And true, he is bold. The ultimate suspicious characteristic.
I don't think you can be pro. If you are offering even critical support to Russia, or not Russia, but like
gotcha.
Vladimir Putin in general, I don't think you're doing the right thing.
I don't
think
know
that
what's
you've
his
got,
position because he didn't really flesh it
yeah,
out. but
I
he-
think
he
you're
went there a little
lost in the
bit.
sauce. I think you're lost in the sauce in the sense that
Oh my god. Hasan telling Ethan that he's lost in the sauce for asking basic ass questions. Oh my god. Oh my god, dude. Dude, come on.
Me or him?
no, like anyone that is like, oh no, Vladimir Putin did the right thing. He has he has to have this.
I don't
like,
think people are
righteous
saying that.
conquest.
I think what I hear is like Ukraine, Zelensky is also, you know, a shit starter, and it's their problem that we shouldn't get involved in.
I don't know. I think there's a lot. There are people who like claim to be socialist or even communist that are like, you know, defending Vladimir Putin, but they're marginal.
What, Dan?
Those are tankies.
You seem to think that the Ukraine war isn't something America should get involved in.
When did I ever say that? What are you talking
just
about?
based on what you were saying about Georgia.
No, we were having a discussion about how media.
I do want to say this guy has very dreamy eyes. Like I like the color of his eyes. I also really like that he has a Godzilla shirt. It's, you know, I haven't liked his contributions to the conversation, but I do want to just pause for a minute and say he's got nice eyes, and I really, really like Godzilla merch.
Media shapes narratives in the
Yeah.
United States, and I was saying that again, I'm not talking about in Europe. I'm not talking about in the rest
Also, I kind of really want his Godzilla shirt.
of the world. In the United States, the Russian invasion of Georgia was a non-story. Nobody gave a shit here.
But it's different.
And
it is different. There's difference.
It was a sovereign nation that Russia invaded. What are you
Because
talking
it
about?
doesn't. It's not. It doesn't have the same proximity or the same importance within as Ukraine. I think.
Right, but
Yeah, it doesn't have the same geopolitical importance. Like that's 100% valid.
we're talking past each other. Like that.
It's
I
from
know-
his
yeah,
it's
Ukraine
from
is
his clothing company. Well, goddamn, I need to buy one.
more important to
I
the United
know-
States strategically. That's why it gets attention. We're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Right. But okay.
We're
I know
agreeing.
people are influenced by the media.
Right, but you were saying
It's so fucking weird that they've spent like 30 minutes talking about like whether or not people are influenced on the media, and Ethan hasn't disagreed with that concept.
you think that people, you know,
Are
feel this
allowed to
way.
care about things genuinely. also.
Nobody's saying that
Nobody's
they're not
saying
allowed
that you're not allowed to. I mean,
No, not allowed to. But Hasan was saying
What was I saying?
that it's a manufactured support.
It absolutely is.
Yeah, and Dan,
That is something that the U.S. media does. They
Yeah.
manufacture support for
you,
U.S. foreign
you were
policy.
saying I jumped to conclusion.
I'm not
but
saying
then-
that. I'm not saying that all U.S. foreign policy is bad, but I think it is
Okay, whatever.
unquestionably true that the
Conversation's
U.S.
pointless.
media crafts people's.
Of course.
Yeah, it crafts the.
dude.
Yeah, of course, but this is so frustrating because nobody has been arguing that it doesn't. Nobody has been arguing that it doesn't. Oh my god, dude. Oh fuck, dude.
narrative.
So what is the disagreement then? Like, what if maybe I'm not using the
There's
appropriate
the
language.
implication that support for Ukraine or Taiwan.
Again, it would have been, I think, way more productive if Ethan had been able to wrangle the conversation, which admittedly is hard to do in a 2v1 situation, but wrangled it back to, hey, that's pretty weird what you said about, you know, ethnically Russian people, and it's kind of like how you said weird stuff about ethnically Han Chinese people. Voosh raid. Well, hello.
Is not.
Hey, Koopa Shell.
authentic.
Hey, Snuggle Kitten.
Right, that you're
Which is
purely
what you
falling for
agreed.
U.S. propaganda. That's
Why am I
not
white?
necessarily
I
true.
do
Say
agree with
that,
No
yeah.
sub.
And then you, Stan, said.
And
I don't
the-
think that
and
I
the
was
exa-
jumping.
and the
true.
examples I
Okay,
use
so
and the
just make-
examples I
just-
use are always like America has what 800 military bases all around the planet. We have our hands in everyone's pockets, right? And there are active. There's
Is this just gonna be Hasan pointing out like another obvious thing, like the media influences people? Like he's so afraid to talk about his Taiwan opinion. It's ridiculous.
active conflict happening
trans girl Jade.
everywhere around the planet all the time, and the United States is involved in it. If you are not thinking about it, if you're not thinking about something happening specifically, that is because, for the most part, the media has not covered it. For the most part, the media is.
All right, I'm over it. Let's move on.
And I think that
I don't wanna talk
strategic.
about it anymore.
That is deliberate. That
We're
is
just,
by
it's
design.
like, it's like,
Oh, welcome, Vosh Raiders.
just not even fun to watch probably at this point or talk about.
It's not, because frankly, Ethan has had very valid and good questions, and Hasan has just been answering by like saying like, gee, have you ever thought about all the military bases the United States has? And the influence that those might have? Aw.
Thought I had this auto renew to begin with.
Well, thank you very much for subscribing, Snuggle Kitten. Now you got 2 subs. Hello, Annie. Hello, Metal Kitty Mom. But this is just so frustrating. I think we basically made it to the end of this segment. It looks, yeah, like 30 seconds more. But I think we're basically done here. Like, ultimately, this is just so fucking bizarre. Hey, High Progressive, how you doing? It's so fucking bizarre. Like, Ethan's just like, hey, what, that stuff you said about Taiwan being ethnically Han Chinese and China being justified in incorporating it, it really mirrors what you said about Ukraine and ethnically Russian people. And like, as soon as that got pointed out, Hasan just wiggled and wormed his way for like 30 goddamn minutes into somehow making it about US military bases and the war on terror. That was actually like a really impressive amount of weaseling. I've tried several times to listen to Hasan, but I just can't. It makes my brain want to explode. I'm not saying he's a bad guy or nothing. I don't think he's a bad guy, but I'll circle back around to what I said at the very beginning. BevGeek, thank you for subscribing for 12 goddamn months. I appreciate it. Thank you for the year of being subscribed over on Twitch. But like, this is what I'm talking about, right? Like, it all comes back around to, frankly, not wanting to be honest about his opinion here. Like, he has American leftism syndrome, like American leftist syndrome, where he has good domestic policies, as far as I can tell from Hasan. I don't watch a ton of his content. But as soon as you get to foreign policy, all of it goes out the window. It's just brains leaking out of the ears. He has no basis for understanding international relationships or fucking
Chat keeps
geopolitical
double
power
teaming with me.
struggles. It's very frustrating. Hasan has a chip that will explode if President Xi ever hears anything anti-CCP. Yeah, I mean, like, I guess we'll just go back to the clip that got sent to me right at the beginning of stream, which is just, frankly, I mean, it builds with the logic he put forward in talking about China.
But like, you feeling bad about the Crimean annexation does not change the reality of the Crimean annexation being a completely justifiable fucking act by the Russian government, okay? So that's it. That's fine. And Hitler invaded countries based on Germanic ties at first? Yeah, dude. Talk to me when he's fucking throwing Ukrainians in a fucking... What are you talking about? Talk to me when he's throwing Ukrainians at a concentration camp, okay? Hitler...
Literally, Ukrainian civilians have been thrown into mass graves. And also... children have been abducted and like sent to Siberia. like
Hitler wasn't fucking bad because he decided to invade Austria. He was bad because he was fucking killing Jews. Okay, that was the problem. He wasn't like, oh yeah, we're gonna fucking annex territory with like Germanic people in it. That wasn't the main problem with Hitler. I think that was like maybe 8th down the line.
Yeah. So again, I'm gonna coin the term American leftist syndrome, which is just a lot of Americans. We have good domestic policy, horrible foreign policy. I feel like I'm pretty okay on foreign policy, but it's a gap I'm mindful of, so I can like not become that. Whatever the fuck that was insane. That was actually insane. American diabolism. Well, so American diabolism is, I think, a little bit different because it's the America bad syndrome, right? But ALS, Jesus. It's a little bit different because American diabolism is just America bad. It's not necessarily like you have an inability to understand geopolitical struggles. And American leftist syndrome, ALS, is just, it's all encompassing. Like, as soon as you go outside of the United States, like, all of your political analysis is terrible. He sounds like a fucking loon. I mean, yeah. Again, I think Hasan's a good dude. I think he has good domestic politics. I think he has terrible international politics. Like, actual dog shit. Oh, hey, Foxy Cheshire. Just joined, and I watch you on Twitch. I didn't know you were here on YouTube. Vosh mentioned you're online, and I'm so happy to see you. It's Foxy Cheshire. Well, hey there. Thank you for coming on over, everybody. Also, hello, for those of you who don't know who I am. My name's Riverboat Jack. I talk about the news and politics. I'm a socialist. I advocate for workplace democracy and talk about how we can achieve that. And yeah, we also cover some leftist infighting. And yeah, I think the main thing to get out of that is Hasan could very, very, very much improve on foreign policy. I think he's just completely wrong-headed about it. And if you gave me 30 minutes with Ethan Klein, I think I could make him a socialist.